Hi guys, it's Aegis here. So today I'm here with another deck profile, and this time I'll be covering one of the quick starter decks, and I'm covering Cristianos. So this is before we actually get the main booster support. So I'm trying to find some cards that actually works with the deck before we actually get more support from our first DC booster 01. So this is some everything before that. So just try to think of what kind of stuff we can use, because in the quick starter basically what's only heavy effect is PGs and this. You can also count like the effect triggers, but yeah, that's basically it. So we need to actually find whatever existing that can be helpful, including the right line, because even the right lines are vanillas. So before we actually get more support for themselves, we have to work with what we already have. And for Stoichi, I think it's a lot easier because a lot of supports are actually very generic and just share within like all the archetypes. So that's the good thing when you are playing Stoichia. But if you are like playing Dragon Empire, which I did think a lot to even just find a good run line. I will show you that one as well in a later video. So stay tuned for that as well. So let's get into the deck profile first. Now, the right line I've chosen is actually using Roroa to generate the plant token so we can get some early rush, and we also allow us the room to use some cards in our hand to drop some, because Cristianos requires you to just reborn a lot of stuff. He also gives you that advantage to reborn a lot of different units with good effects, so you can just actually use those cards to guard with and then bring them back, right? But of course we do have other strategies, so you will see that in a bit. Also, don't forget to put your energy generator into your right deck, because it's kind of compulsory right now, mandatory, so make sure you do that, because even on the deck lock now, when you're selecting cards for a right deck, you need to pick 5 cards, including the energy generator, so do be careful, that is needed. And then the energy counter, if you actually need to use it to make things easier, because even for now I don't have a single energy card with me. In Japan they are already like giving out special energy card, so we need to wait for the main booster to actually get some, and I don't know how many we can get in the case so far. We have no info, so let's see. Now going to the main deck, do remember it's a 50 card main deck now, so there will be a lot of cards. First, we have 3 more Cristianos, because he can pick himself up. Personal is always great, so there's no reason you should use less than a whole playset since you have them already. And then another secret weapon that I'm using in this deck is our Axe Beetle and a Sword Stack. So now they are a very good pair when you're looking for generic support, because they can simply be brought out by Forbido, because your Forbido is basically a different name grade 3 searches onto the board, and if you choose grade 4 you can add it to your hand. But when I play this order, it's basically just choosing these 2 from my drop zone or maybe from my deck, so I can just thin them out, and as long as I get the pair out, they both get plus 10k, which is extremely important. And then just in case, I put a Maple in there, because Maple can just simply reborn and we are so easy to get our person right, so having a Vanguard on place every single turn is quite easy, at least for a few turns. So when you haven't get your orders, you haven't get your like a lot of revivals, or you haven't meet these guys yet, then at least Maple can be here for you to be an extra beater, or even extra defense. So I think it's still a very good card to use when you're looking for generic supports. And since we are reborning cards, then I'm using the Devouring Arms of Collapse C, so that because I do play normal order, so he can simply get the 5k power, and if your Riga were placed when we drop this turn, which may be a little bit harder, it will get his 5k as well. Well, it's not exactly that hard because he can bring this out as well, or maybe sometimes you will use Swapidor even when some other orders, because not all my orders that I choose to use in this deck are bringing cards to the drop zone, so it might be a little bit harder. But again, when you don't see these, this can be a good beater because you play an order, you use the skill to bring it up, then you're already like plus 10k already. But unfortunately, we won't be doing a 4th battle with this deck for now, so I don't see the extra 5k for the last effect to actually to pop, but maybe in the future. Next, since we keep person riding and we don't actually use too much of our souls, so I think Margaret is a good choice, even though her stunning isn't that appealing, because to be honest, you see a lot of Stoichia decks, but we never actually use this card. But I think in this deck, because the person ride is so easy, so she get a value there, and because we don't use a lot of souls, so we have the room to actually use her to draw us extra cards. And then, speaking of personal supports, we have our Tightline Dragon, which is also a power pump to units before you get these, or even when you already have these on board, you can still pump it with Tightline Dragon as long as you personalize. So it's still great, and it's another way to use your soul. So I think it's still something that you should be consider when you're looking for generic support, and especially with a deck that is so easy to just personalize. And then to bring cards back like this, I have using the DN. DN makes things a lot easier as a good beater and as a reborn as long as you go into bravery. So she's yet another good generic support that you can consider. And then two of the Jam Beast, because we do use quite a lot of souls, so soul charging 2 can be helpful. Also is kind of a way to finding your pieces, because once you soul charge them in, then you can actually soul blast them back to the drop zone, then you can just reborn them. So it's still something that you can consider, and this extra shield to me is very important. As long as we use our right line skill to generate plan tokens, I don't really care if they go back to the right deck, so I can actually use it twice. So yeah. And then next I'm using the Red Riding Hooded Seal. So this is the Mushroom, which has a Regal on play skill. Discard the top 2 cards of the deck, and this card get plus 2k for the turn, so it can boost the power a little bit to, for example, having these 13s to get extra 10s and 10s and 10s, so the shield value will not be so weird, right? And even boosting with it, the end is a 13 and then it's a 10, so it's still 23. So 5k won't be enough, 10k won't be enough, they will need to at least give you 15k, and then you just find yourself the pieces you need. And to generate the drops, I think it's very important in this deck, because you reborn a lot of cards, and in order to make the most efficient way, you should have a lot of good cards in the drop zone. Unfortunately, not like Solar that we can just directly drop orders into the drop zone. There are a lot of ways you can actually go into this. Some people might go into like Philander to look at top 5 drop, but I think it's a little bit slow, because in this deck I'm also running the Nectar, And in order for Nectar to like fully utilize, you do actually need to create your drop. And sometimes because the deck becomes so thick now, even just adding 4 cards into the main deck to become 50 is making a very big change, at least on how I play different decks. I see the key pieces are so far away, so in this build, I'm trying to use something that can help me mill while being able to do something to boost power. Else I would go for like Hadrina to just drop 3. It is a good card, but then because I'm not using her second part of the skill, so I think it's kind of a little bit wasting her full potential. But this card at least can be a 10k booster, and I don't have to do it. If I see enough, then I can just let it stay as a boost, which sometimes can be very helpful. And then PGs, if you want to use the Blitz order, you can. And then the rest of the orders are the dreams, so that I can just look at the top card and another card for me to mill. It's a draw power. And then Frozen Resentment is also a card that helps us to mill. And Mystia Habitat is also another card help us to mill. Not exactly to the drop zone because it brings cards to the field, but then it sometimes can just bring the key cards that you need. Maybe you are missing one of them, then you can find it just through that. So that's a lot of things to just keep cards out of your deck. So whenever you have a chance, you can just start preparing to use your Nectar, even though it's only like a 1 punch, but it can be a very big punch depending on how you set up your field, because you have Person Right and you have cards that pumps up themselves, you have good boosters, and then you have more power pumps. So if you can at least try to drain your opponent's resources in 1 turn, then maybe the next turn you can just win. And to make things easier, for triggers I'm using the fire elemental ones, because I can just bring out a very strong beater and healing for more than 1 time, kind of forcing the 4th attack thing to happen. So if I actually like have this, then with this I can at least kind of forcing a 4th attack. If not, I can't even make it happen. And then 4 soaring crit in case we need more souls, 4 more crits to push the games faster, the draws, and then the heals. I don't think the effect heals is needed, but as usual, if you want to use it, you can. It doesn't matter to me that much, so up to you. But so far, I think more crits than draw is better. Given that your units are trying to hit big, then at the same time you should try to push damage as much as you can, so your opponent will just need to keep to do the defensive, because Cristiano, unfortunately, he isn't like shining that much with his own skill, because he also mills 2 and then just bring 2 cards back, right? But it's just kind of generic, but at the same time it also gives me like a chance to overview a lot of different generic options and then put them into this deck, right? And when we actually have the right line for Cristiano, maybe things will change. So when I'm looking into generic supports, I think these are what I would pick. Yeah, so do let me know as well, like when you are looking into Cristiano before the main side support, when you're looking into like what kind of generic supports that we can use, we can consider. What is your choice? And also do let me know your reason why. I am trying to like make these decks before we go into the main booster, so that like people can just look into what kind of key parts or like generic supports that they can choose, which not only can be used in this deck, but it can be used in other decks, or like when you are filling your deck list, thinking what you should use, and you're looking for generic supports, then this kind of like a library, a simple library of generic support that you can choose, and then you can just kind of reference from here going into different deck builds. Yeah, so I hope this helps. I will be also doing the Dragon Empire one as well. For the other nations, because I don't have enough resources, so I probably won't be doing those unless I find a very interesting build that I want to share. If not, then I will just go for the Dragon Empire one, and then just wait for the main set to come out, and then just focus on the main set. Yeah, so that's it for this video. Do let me know any of your thoughts, share with your friends, subscribe for more deck profiles, deck fights, unboxing videos, and I will see you guys in the next video. Signing off.